Welcome to this live stream from First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our mission is to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly. We invite you to visit our website at www.ucdsm.org. It's a great way to explore all that our church has to offer, from adult programs, to religious education, to social justice work, and more. But the best way to know us is to visit on a Sunday. We'd love to get to know you over a cup of coffee after the service. Speaking of which, today's service will begin shortly. So now we'll take you inside.
Your Stories Belong to You by Julian Jamaica Soto. Dear trans, non-binary, genderqueer, and gender-expansive friends and kin, and those of us whose gender is survival, let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. You are not hard to love and respect. Your existence is a blessing. Your pronouns are not a burden or a trial. They are a part of your name, just shorter. Someone getting them wrong is not a poor reflection on you. It is not your fault. Your body, really and truly, belongs to you, no one else. The stories of your body, the names of your body's parts, your body's privacy, the sum of your body's glory. It is not okay for anyone to press their story of you back to the beginning of our liberation. We will find the people ready to be on the freedom for the people way. We will go on. No one can rename you other. It can't stick as you offer the gift of being and saying who you are. Mostly, though, your stories belong to you. Your joy and complexity are beautiful, however you may choose to tell it or not tell it. Some folks, sis, may take their liberty for an unholy license. You are beloved. Please keep to our shared tasks of healing, getting free. Good morning. I'm Elijah Evans, pronouns he, him, your celebrant this morning. We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the worries and woes, to find a moment to connect, to pause on the journey in gratitude and sorrow. It is good to be together. Please join with me in the chalice lighting words in your order of service. We light this chalice, symbol of our living tradition, to mark our time together. Here in this fellowship of love, we give and receive the gift of attention. May this flame remind us of the love which binds us together. And now, let us pass the peace. If you would prefer a little personal space, simply remain seated and your neighbors will take the cue and leave you in peace. And once that peace has been passed, you may remain standing for our opening hymn.
Good morning. Please join me in singing hymn number 1053 in the Teal hymnal, How Could Anyone?
Welcome, everyone. Welcome all genders, ethnicities, bodies, and stories. Whatever you are carrying with you, whatever you long to set down or pick up today, may you find here the love, support, and encouragement you seek. We extend a warm welcome to anyone who's here for the first time or just starting to check us out. It's good to be here with you.
And good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Steve Seek. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm honored to serve as your minister. Will you join with me in sharing our covenant to support the mission of our church? We covenant together to advance our mission, to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly.
Good morning. My name is Anna Davis Evans, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a pastoral care associate for your congregation. If you're going through a big shift in life, whether it brings glad tidings or sorrow or a mix of both, know that we are here for you, as sometimes all you need is a listening ear. There are many ways to reach us by emailing pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org, calling or texting the number you'll see on the screen, reaching out to us through our Caring Community page, submitting a card in the Cares and Concerns box outside the door, or, of course, speaking to a member of the pastoral care team. Here's what's been shared with us this week. Ann Rosenboom shares, after 34 years of working at Planned Parenthood, on Friday I hung up my speculum and retired. I plan to travel, make music, walk dogs at the Animal Rescue League, and watch documentaries and horror films with my husband, John. Let's wish Ann a warm congratulations. We also have an update on Bruce Martin, who is through surgery and in recovery at this time. I think that we are all just hoping he takes a little patience as he recovers. As we hold joy for those experiencing the sweet moments of life, we take a breath to hold those facing difficult circumstances. We can send Ron Bowerman our love and care as he recovers from surgery. Ron had surgery at Mayo Clinic on Friday, March 27th to treat stage 1 bladder cancer. His wife, Eileen, says surgery went very well and all of the cancer was successfully removed. They expect to be home next week. You can see me after the service to sign a card for those mentioned here today, and I'll make one final personal note. I've had the privilege of serving on pastoral care for the last 2 years, and I just want to say it's been such an honor to bear witness to your journeys, joyful and sorrowful. Elijah and I are preparing to welcome our daughter into the world in just a few weeks' time, so this will be the last Sunday that you see me for a while as we step back and focus on family. So thank you again for the opportunity to stand by you in all that life has brought you over the last few years. We know there's more happening in your lives than we can name here, more people who are on your heart. Let's take a moment to speak those names aloud or in our hearts, and as we do, may the care and compassion of this community hold them all. We now light 3 candles. One for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and another for those held silently among us. For all of these, we now observe a minute of silence.
May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
We now take up our offering, for in giving we receive.
That was so great. Thank you. This Tuesday, March 31st, we honor Trans Day of Visibility. Now, if you're not sure what that is, that's okay. It only started 16 years ago. Rachel Crandon, there we go, is a trans activist in Michigan who started this holiday, quote, in response to the overwhelming majority of media stories about transgender people being focused on violence. She hoped to create a day where people could celebrate the lives of transgender people, while simultaneously acknowledging that due to discrimination, not every trans person can or wants to be visible, unquote. Now, there's a cognitive dissonance here today because I'm the one preaching about how important it is to see and hear and celebrate and affirm our trans beloveds, and I'm not trans, and I get that. I want to let you know that we live in a state that has been legally hostile to trans people and a federal climate that has been supporting that hostility. So while invitations were made, it's me today because I'm safe talking about it. And let's continue to fight for the rights of our trans beloveds to feel as safe up here as I do. In the meantime, let's take a few minutes to make sure we're all caught up. Because if we're going to be honest, the conversation around gender identity in the public sphere has changed a lot in the last 15 or 20 years. One of the mistakes we can make in a space like this is to assume that if the Unitarian Universalist Association is radically trans-affirming, and if the congregation is radically trans-affirming, and indeed hosts a one-of-a-kind celebratory trans festival, well, then surely we're all caught up. But I know that we're not. And since the conversation has changed so much in the last 20 years, I understand why some folks are bewildered. Why do we have to use our pronouns? What does non-binary mean? So let's take some time today to catch up together. Because if we're going to live into our mission, loving radically, growing ethically and spiritually, and serving justly, it's not enough to hang a banner that says how affirming we are or to take group credit for our festival. If we're not all basically caught up, then we can be a place that looks really welcoming and affirming on the outside and doesn't feel quite as affirming on the inside. I want you to imagine it this way. Think of a church that's 98% men, that hosts a banner outside that says, "We welcome women," right? Now, if a woman walks into that church and like most of the guys there are nice and they're, "Oh, let's tell me about what you do at work," and all of that, but a couple of them are misogynist or sexually objectifier or just otherwise creepy, it is not a welcoming space for that woman in that church. So, as an act of radical affirmation and harm reduction, let me back up, let's catch up. Now, here's what I learned in 8th grade. There are two sexes, male and female, determined on your 23rd chromosome pair, XX and XY. Does that sound right to you as well? Okay. I also grew up with remnants of an older paradigm that said that not only were there two sexes, but each had their own attributes. Men were strong leaders that were emotionally distant, and when women were caregivers that were compassionate. That remnant for me looked like the best-selling book, Men Are From Mars, and Women Are From Venus, and we can't even understand one another. So I grew up assuming that biological sex, male, was the same as gender, man. Now, there is a lot to unpack from what I learned in 8th grade. It is true that your 23rd chromosome pair does determine your biological sex, but it's also true there are way more than two options. I know you can't read that. That's actually the point. There are so many other genotypes that are what we would call intersex. Your genitalia or hormones or other factors are both male and female or ambiguous or something else. And it's not always two chromosomes. Klinefelter's, for example, is XXY. Turner syndrome is just X. The main point is this. You're born and the body is right here and the doctor looks at it and assigns a sex to you at birth. They say, "Congrats, you have a fill in the blank," right? Now, in most cases, they go, "Well, that looks like a female or that looks like a male." But in the case of intersex babies, often the doctor and the parents just pick one and have a surgeon mutilate that infant, which is now illegal, as it should be, in many countries. I find that once people get their head around the idea that people are not always born strictly male or female, it opens up a little space to understand how actually diverse nature is, that there are women who produce male levels of testosterone and men who produce female levels of estrogen and so forth. And the whole paradigm, the whole binary of male and female, he created them in Genesis 1:27. Suddenly it feels incredibly reductive. So you take your baby home, and if it's a girl, the clothes tend to be pink, and the toys are dolls, and the after-school sport is dance, and people comment on your daughter's smile, and her pretty dress, and how sweet she is. And if it's a boy, the clothes tend to be blues, and the toys are guns, and the after-school sport is football, and people comment on how quickly and strong they're growing, and how responsible a leader they are. And this, in a nutshell, is the difference between sex and gender. Sex is biologically determined by the chromosome pair. Gender is socially constructed. We learn gender. It is a web of behaviors and attitudes and perspectives that we call manhood or womanhood, and we attach them to biological sex. We learn them so well that we need a book to explain to us how this other planet of gender works. But gender is never a binary. Nothing in nature is a binary. And most of us know this in our own lived experience. There comes a point in most people's lives when they have to affirm something true about themselves that doesn't fit in the box they were put in. Can I offer a harmless example from my life? As a middle school and high school student, I loved dance. I loved studying dance. I loved being in dance troupes. I was also a cisgender, heterosexual man, right? And nobody knew what to do with that, because if you liked dance, then you were gay, but I liked dance and I liked women, and I really liked dancing with women. Now, most of you probably have a much harder example. Women who had to step away from a relationship with a partner who assumed because you were female that you should be docile, when you were, in fact, 100% certified grade A butt-kicking leader. Or coming out of a closet and declaring that you are gay or lesbian or bisexual or asexual. Or learning to stop apologizing for and masking your different way of thinking and seeing the world. Or to get to the point today saying, I know that you think I'm a woman because that is the body I was born with, but I'm a man. Trans Day of Visibility is simply and exactly this: the radical and powerful act of trans people saying, hi, we exist. We have always existed. We will continue to exist. You cannot make us go away with legislation or gaslighting. And we do not want to only be discussed as victims, though we too often are. We want you to know that we can flourish. As a family member of mine who is trans once said to me, people get so stuck on the idea of gender dysphoria. Why do you hate the body you were born with? They never talk about the gender euphoria, the love of your body after you transition. If there's anything I hope all you youths can agree on, and I know that that is a tough ask, it's just this. I think that everyone wants people to flourish, to be free of oppression, to be free of the barriers that keep people from knowing their worth and dignity. So I understand what does non-binary mean? What is a they pronoun? I understand those questions. I know it has changed. Here is a quick primer. I want you to imagine a pond of gender, and there's a beach on either side. Some people like being the gender that corresponds with the biological sex they were assigned with at birth. So I was born male, I was placed on the guy beach. Those folks like me are called cisgender, because cis is a Latin prefix meaning on the same side of. I like the beach I was assigned at. Some, that beach never feels right. They want to be on the other side, which is trans is the Latin prefix for on the other side of, meaning you like the other beach. So I use he, him pronouns because those are the pronouns that go with being a man. Some folks don't like either beach in particular, and that's non-binary. That's they, them, or ze, zer, or other forms of pronouns. They are not attached to either side. There's lots of ways that we could talk about that. We could say that you're two gender, meaning you like this beach some days and this beach some days. You could say that you're agender, and you're not particularly interested in either beach. You could imagine this pond for sexual attraction too, right? I like to spend all of my time on one beach, or I like both beaches, or I just like being in the water, right? This brings us to pronouns. Why do I introduce myself with pronouns every Sunday? When we make an assumption about someone's gender based on what they look like, well, then we're assuming everyone's cisgender, right? So if I'm chatting with someone I've never met and I assume that they use she or her pronouns, that this is a woman because I'm clocking a female body in some part of my brain, it puts this incredibly intense pressure on this person who may be trans to say, I think you've misgendered me. Let's start again. My name is Dave. I use he or they pronouns. Not that that person has to disclose their pronouns. It's very often not safe to out yourself as trans in Iowa with a group of people you don't know. But as a gesture of radical affirmation, I lead with, hey, I'm Reverend Steve. I use he, him pronouns. Now, someone asked me recently, okay, we get why you did that in August, and maybe even since September, but why do you keep saying it? Why do you already say that? We know by now. And I say two things. First, congrats on coming to church every week. And second, you know that, but there's a new visitor, or two, or five, every Sunday. And they don't. So when I introduce myself with pronouns, it tells this new person two pieces of information. One, hi, I'm Steve. I use he, him pronouns. I identify as a man. And 2, I understand gender is a socially constructed spectrum, not a binary, and it's distinct from biological sex. In my case, they're aligned, right? Catching up is hard. 40 years ago, Unitarian ministers were preaching about gay rights, and it was hard, right? Congregations had a lot of work to do, a lot of work to make sure that every gay and lesbian or bisexual person was seen and heard with radical affirmation and welcome. And this congregation did it on the early side. 1992, it became a welcoming and affirming congregation. What happens is there comes a tipping point when a critical mass of people are caught up and they get it, and then the interesting thing stops being this person's sexuality, but in fact, their personality, what they contribute, how their gifts and ideas change the community. And so we arrive at a point where we no longer think about whether our congregational leaders are male or female, or gay or straight, for example. We're just interested in their contributions, in their leadership. And now we are, as a Unitarian Universalist Association, catching up as congregations, as people, to what we had been slow to understand about the construction of gender. And so we commit ourselves to work for a day when trans and non-binary identities are so fully seen and heard as a part of the ecosystem that we think about leadership and gifts and ideas that they will share and change this community for the better, to be seen and heard. Let us co-create that world. Amen. And now we extinguish the chalice. So I'm going to invite back Elijah here to lead us in that. I don't have anything.
Oh, okay.
We're just reading it. Yeah.
Okay. Please follow along as we say these chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not our focus. We quench this candle, but not our quests. To observe this splendid world, to witness each other, these we continue all the moments of our lives.
Wait. We're not done. My name is Sally Buckholt. My pronouns are she and her. And today we are doing something unusual for a Sunday. So thank you for being flexible and open to listening to and learning from one another this morning. At this time, I invite all children and youth to follow Faith and Ann downstairs, where they're going to remain until 10:55 doing fun kids and youth stuff. So if we are high school youth on down, please follow them out. What we're doing today is we're going to be talking about AMOS, but we're mostly going to be talking to each other. So our congregation is a member of AMOS. That's a Mid-Iowa Organizing Strategy, which is a community organizing collective in central Iowa, which works to identify local issues affecting our families and find people in our member institutions who care about and want to work on solutions together. Every few years, AMOS holds a campaign called a House Meeting Campaign, where we gather people in our member churches and nonprofits and ask them to talk to and listen to one another to uncover the issues currently emerging that we can work on together. We are holding such sessions with you here today. This year is AMOS's 30th anniversary in central Iowa and the 250th anniversary of the signing of our nation's Declaration of Independence. AMOS's theme for the House Meeting Campaign is We the People, as we are gathering the people of central Iowa to listen and act for our families and communities' betterment. 250 years ago, the people of the colonies gathered to address their concerns. Now it is our turn. The question we'll be addressing in your house meetings today, and that I ask you to think about as you sit here right now, waiting to be dismissed to your house meeting, is this: what is getting in the way of safety and happiness for you and your loved ones? In just a minute, Crystal and Eileen are going to come down the center aisle. I'm not sure they're coming down the center aisle. They're coming down. And they will begin releasing you by rows to move to a circle with other church folks. So you'll get assigned a place to go. So you aren't going to wander aimlessly and think, I have no idea where I'm supposed to be. They will hand you a piece of paper with a group number and location on it. If you have mobility issues, We ask that you just remain in the back of the auditorium, and we aren't going to ask you to travel to church to find a place to be. And you'll get a lavender slip. So if you're one of those folks and you don't have a lavender slip already, just pull one out of the basket when it comes to you. If you have hearing issues, a number of groups are going to be in Griffin Hall. Hearing can be difficult even now in Griffin Hall when there's a lot of people talking, which there will be. So I would suggest that you take a slip for, what color are those slips? Pink. A pink slip. And that will send you to either Stonewall, which is the conference room on the south end of the church, or the minister's offices in the office suite. And there are signs, and there will be people out there to help you, for those of you who are new. We will begin promptly at 10:10 with our house meetings. We will dismiss promptly at 10:55. You will have a facilitator in every group to help keep the conversation going and lay some rules and just make it a comfortable place for all of you. We invite everyone to share, but if you would prefer to listen, that is okay too. And if you are new to our church, if this is your first time or your third time, or you're back after a 6-year absence, please join us. Please stay and be part of the conversation. We want to hear from you. As I said, we'll conclude at 10:55, followed by hospitality until 11:20. And then you thought there was no forum. But there is a forum, because we're going to reconvene, for those who are interested and curious, we're going to reconvene in Griffin Hall, the fellowship area, at 11:20. And in that time, we're going to talk about what did we hear. So stay and listen to what you all have been talking about for that period of time in the house meetings. And then we'll talk about what's next. What's the next for AMOS and for all of us? Okay? Does that make sense? We'll help you as much as we can. Your voice matters. To be seen and heard belongs to all of us. So when you speak, our community changes, and I look forward to hearing from you. So, friends, shall we begin? It's like being at a wedding. We're going to release you by rows. And I think you can move, just move out the front or the back, and there's one room downstairs and the rest are all up here. So, okay.
As this live stream from First Unitarian Church comes to an end, remember that previous live streams can be found on our YouTube channel. We'd love to see you in person someday. Until then, thanks for joining us.